Hey, this is Kim. How you doing today? Okay, so I'm going to read to you from the Urantia book, but first, Light the Flame by Andrew Harvey. Okay, March 13th. Yes, it is March 13th. This is from Friedrich Hölderlin, who was a 19th century German poet. Okay. Initiator of great virtue, Queen Truth. May you not thrust my thinking up against a coarse lie. Queen Truth. Okay, so there we have the female personification of deity or ultimate truth. Okay, and so don't thrust my thinking up against a coarse lie. Okay, so don't deceive me, or don't make me confront these lies. Okay, so save me from having to oh gosh, to fight with people who are deceived, I think, or have my truth discredited or invalidated by people who are deceived. Okay, I think that's what I'm getting to. That's okay. That's something I've experienced. It's very painful. And when you're thinking highest good in your intention, and then that's defamed. They're defaming your character out of nothing else but envy or whatever, but you go forward. Yeah, okay, but we have to let go of that. That's part of experience that I had to let go of. It's hard, it's painful, because because ultimate truth isn't in here. It's not in this experience. It's not in what you think is real, but it's in, like, that whole experience itself was real. But that's painful. Yeah. All right. Okay. But God lifts us up from even when liars and deceivers are defaming us and making fools of us, even though our intention is good. We have to release even those intentions, even those good intentions. We have to release them and surrender to that experience, and that's the only way out of it and away from those who would do that. But that's excruciatingly painful. But it's a lesson. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. Enough of that. Let's we're gonna read here. Paper 193, Final Appearances and Ascension. We're reading about Judas's downfall today. Part 4, Causes of Judas's downfall. Okay, I don't hate Judas. I have pity, a lot of pity for Judas. Okay, it was in the first part of the Master's farewell message to his apostles that he alluded to the loss of Judas and held up the tragic fate of their traitorous fellow worker as a solemn warning against the dangers of social and fraternal isolation. It may be helpful to believers in this and in future ages briefly to review the causes of Judas's downfall in the light of the Master's remarks and in view of the accumulated enlightenment of succeeding centuries. As we look back upon this tragedy, we conceive that Judas went wrong primarily because he was very markedly an isolated personality. Don't trust anybody. I can do for myself. I don't need anybody. An isolated personality, a personality shut in and away from ordinary social contacts. Mothers, do not shelter your children. That damages them. He persistently refused to confide in or freely fraternize with his fellow apostles. But his being an isolated type of personality would not, in and of itself, have wrought such mischief for Judas, had it not been that he also failed to increase in love and grow in spiritual grace. And then, as if to make a bad matter worse, he persistently harbored grudges and fostered such psychologic enemies as revenge and the generalized craving to get even with somebody for all of his disappointments. Okay, so he held grudges, and these like somebody did that to me. That's mostly in our mind. Okay, occasionally, okay, I suppose that is purposeful. Somebody's out to get you or whatever, but 99% of the time, those things are in our mind, and that person that you're thinking hurt you so bad, they don't know what they did. And to resolve it, you just need to talk to them and tell them. But Judas refused to do that. Instead, he nursed these grudges and it's like, I'm going to get even with that guy. Yeah. This unfortunate combination of individual peculiarities and mental tendencies conspired to destroy a well-intentioned man who failed to subdue these evils by love, faith, and trust. That Judas need not have gone wrong is well proved by the cases of Thomas and Nathaniel, both of whom were cursed with the same sort of suspicion and overdevelopment of the individualistic tendency. Even Andrew and Matthew had many leanings in this direction, but all these men grew to love Jesus and their fellow apostles more, and not less, as time passed. They grew in grace and in a knowledge of the truth. They became increasingly more trustful of their brethren and slowly developed the ability to confide in their fellows. Judas persistently refused to confide in his brethren. He couldn't trust. Yeah, that's devastating. When he was impelled by the accumulation of his emotional conflicts to seek relief in self-expression, he invariably sought the advice and received the unwise consolation of his unspiritual relatives, or those chance acquaintances who were either indifferent or actually hostile to the welfare and progress of the spiritual realities of the heavenly kingdom, of which he was one of the 12 consecrated ambassadors on earth. So when he doesn't seek the advice within this group that he belongs to, he's going outside of it. I think that's a manifestation of not trusting myself. It's like, I did this, I took this on me. Should I have really done that? So I'm still like thinking on the outside because, and I think he wanted he wanted this association with Jesus probably to bring him rewards in the material world. And it wasn't about that. He wanted it to bring him, friends, especially because, when you're lonely, when you're isolated, you're starving for affection and association. And it's right there in front of you. But it's like all these guys here, they've had their minds, all these guys here, the other apostles, have their minds taken over by Jesus. They're not objectives. That's what they're thinking. But they're really more like him because they're in what he's already committed himself to. If he felt that way, he shouldn't have committed himself yet. But he did commit himself because, see, it's like two minds. Yeah. Judas met defeat in his battles of the earth struggle because of the following factors of personal tendencies and character weakness. 1, he was an isolated type of human being. He was highly individualistic and chose to grow into a confirmed, shut-in, and unsociable sort of person. 2, as a child, life had been made too easy for him. He bitterly resented thwarting. So he resented it. I think that means he resented it when he didn't get his way. Because he was a spoiled child. He always expected to win. He was a very poor loser. There you go. Number 3, he never acquired a philosophic technique for meeting disappointment. Instead of accepting disappointments as a regular and commonplace feature of human existence, he unfailingly resorted to the practice of blaming someone in particular or his associates as a group for all his personal difficulties and disappointments. So he doesn't accept responsibility for his own disappointments in his life. He wants to find somebody to blame for that. Okay, I'm like Judas here in these first two, kind of a relatively isolated person and kind of, I was a very spoiled child. Yes, too easy, sheltered. Yep, that was me. And but this here, I developed in my 20s. I developed a technique for dealing with my own stuff, I would say. Yeah, I didn't blame other people for my problems. Right. And it was through study of the Tao Te Ching, that I did that. Even though I still indulged in things, I didn't blame other people for my indulgence or my problems. Yeah. Practice blaming someone in particular or his associates as a group. Okay, for all his personal difficulties and disappointments. Number 4, he was given to holding grudges. He was always entertaining the idea of revenge. Yeah, I didn't do that appreciably, after that point in my early 20s. Yeah. Number 5, he did not like to face facts frankly. He was dishonest in his attitude toward life situations, right? So we'll kind of morph the truth into whatever form it needs to be convenient for me to fit into the world I have that's dominated by my ego, right? Number 6, he disliked to discuss his personal problems with his immediate associates. He refused to talk over his difficulties with his real friends and those who truly loved him. In all the years of their association, he never once went to the master with a purely personal problem. That's been a theme in my life as well, is being able to tell the difference between the people that really care about me and are really interested in my development in a positive way, and people who are not trustworthy and who are interested in me because of what I can do for them. That's been really hard for me to tell the difference. I'm still doing that. I have true friends in my life now that I trust, but for a long time I didn't know. I couldn't tell the difference. And I think that's what he couldn't tell, that his apostles, these apostles and Jesus cared about him. He didn't know that. And it's because of something in his youth that it's mixed up here when you're growing up, and the parents that care for you hurt you, and they might not even mean to do that. It might not be a deliberate thing, but that feels like normal to you. Then the same people that love me are the ones that are hurting me. So then you look for that, and it's love isn't real unless it hurts. And that's a huge tragic experience, and that needs to be dispelled. Tragic consequences, sexual abuse and all kinds of abuse, and people will voluntarily gravitate to those harmful situations because that's what they think that love is. It's really interesting to me. Anyway, I'm going to keep going here. He never learned that the real rewards for noble living are, after all, spiritual prizes, which are not always distributed during this one short life in the flesh. And there you go. He thought he was accepted the association with Jesus and the apostles because he believed that that would bring him rewards, outside of that association and in the physical world, for having more relationships probably outside of the 12 and outside of his relationship with Jesus. He didn't understand that relationship is the real prize. Yeah. As a result of his persistent isolation of personality, his griefs multiplied, his sorrows increased, his anxieties augmented, and his despair deepened almost beyond endurance. Poor Judas. Well, this self-centered and ultra-individualistic apostle had many psychic, emotional, and spiritual troubles. His main difficulties were: in personality, he was isolated. In mind, he was suspicious and vengeful. In temperament, he was surly and vindictive. Emotionally, he was loveless and unforgiving. Socially, he was unconfiding and almost wholly self-contained. In spirit, he became arrogant and selfishly ambitious. In life, he ignored those who loved him. And in death, he was friendless. These then are the factors of mind and influences of evil which, taken together, explain why a well-meaning and otherwise one-time sincere believer in Jesus, even after several years of intimate association with his transforming personality, forsook his fellows, repudiated a sacred cause, renounced his holy calling, and betrayed his divine master. Right. Okay. And I can't help but draw parallels here between this reading and the reading of Andrew Harvey's reading today. Initiator of great virtue, may you not thrust my thinking up against a coarse lie. Don't let me be deceived or influenced by these lies. which is what happened to Judas. Okay, that's pretty sobering, I think, and we have to protect ourselves. We have to stay together, okay? Go out into the world, but, hold sacred close to you the people that love you and that you love. Um, and pray, devote yourself to higher purposes. Okay, I don't know what else I have to say about that, except I'm feeling a lot of pain for Judas right now, and people like him in our world today that are being led down. Even they've got the light all around them, but they don't see that. Okay, let's pray for our brothers and sisters who are misguided. Okay, dear Lord, please help all the people in the world to know thy truth and to follow your path that you've clearly set before us. Help us love each other, even those ones that are so misfortunate as to not know your love. Please help them most of all, and have mercy on them. Okay, thank you. Amen. Okay, have a good day. Bye.